Welcome to the Sparkling Lives podcast, the podcast where we hear the stories behind the people and we get to know those people and the lessons they learn through their lives. And today we are welcoming a wonderful woman who are taking some time off her job to make the world a better place to be here with us and to share her story. So welcome, Dori, to our podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to share my story with you.
It's so nice to have you here. And how are you doing today?
I'm feeling great. It's really nice. I'm in Spain. The sun is shining. It's summer, so I'm feeling great. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing great. I'm so excited for this episode and to hear your story. And when you now say you're in Spain, I just heard you tell me a little before we started recording that you are moving around a lot. So where have you been the last years?
Yes, I live location independently for 7 years now, and I've been in many places. Still a lot on my list, but for the summer right now it's Spain, Valencia, and but I just came like for the winter. I spend most of the time in Mexico. I love Latin America, but I also really like the other side, Asia. Cape Town is another favorite. So I've been in quite a few places around the world and love it. Love traveling.
Wow. And that's just a good start of the introduction to yourself. Can you please tell us, who are you?
Yes. Who am I? Well, if I look at from the business side, I'm a coach who is working with women and really helping and empowering them to step out their own way and really break free from all the limitations that we usually tend to put on ourselves and to finally create the life that they want and go after the dreams that they've been postponing for maybe a long time. And this is the job side. And as I mentioned, I'm a traveler, location independent person. I love dancing, very passionate about dancing. And yeah, just I guess like a free spirit in many ways.
That's just amazing. And I always wonder what is the starting point of the traveling? What made you go after the traveling dream and brought you out to the world?
Well, the traveling actually, well, if I go and I mentioned to you that I see my life in like there was a turning point in my life, definitely. There's a before and after, and that happened 7 years ago when I really stepped into this full-time traveling. Before that, I traveled quite a few times and spent some time even here in Valencia, in Geneva. And what made me really travel this much in the last few years was actually very connected to dancing, because I wanted to go and I wanted to dance salsa in Cuba because I love Cuban salsa, and I felt like I really want to go and experience how they do it there. How is the life when the atmosphere is all about this freedom and this happiness, what for me like salsa really represents. And that's how it all started. It's yeah, it's looking back, it's crazy that this was the trigger, but this was for me. And not, I didn't really know about digital nomads until that point, and it almost like happened as an accident for me.
Yeah, it's something about the faith. It just happens when you don't think about it. And I get so excited because I see the smile on your face when you're talking about the dancing. Can you describe for the people who are not watching this but just hearing this, what is it with the dancing that makes you smile like a bloom. It just lights up your face. What's with the dancing?
To be honest, like everything, I don't know. I always felt, I think, the most alive. And people talk about like this state of flow, and of course, like this concept and this whole thing has been around for a long time, but at the same time, like I think people really started to talking about it in the last 10 years. But I think even as a kid, I felt that, like this flow state, that you are just like, you lost track of time and place, and you just enjoy what you do, and that is really like radiating this positivity and this, I don't know, this happiness for me. This was always like, it doesn't have to be like salsa, it can be anything. For me, I was dancing a lot of the times with my childhood best friend, just going into the club and like just dancing hip hop and R&B, and that was it. I didn't even leave to drink or have a break. I was dancing 5 hours straight, and that was my, yeah, I just like the best time and the moment that I was waiting for every day throughout the week, that finally it's Saturday and I can go and just dance and shake everything off. Now I actually know how much I released with the dancing, like, because a lot of the things, but I will share a little bit later, but a lot of these I don't know, like emotions and like stress and anxiety, even as a kid, and you have like from school or whatever, like it can be released with the dancing. So I think it was also kind of my way of letting everything go.
I get goosebumps. I don't know why, but I just felt that therapy in the dancing. For me, it's theater, but also music, but especially theater and music and song. It's something that releases. It's just you're in the flow with the world. I can't wait
Exactly.
to hear more about that. And before we get to your story, I would love to hear you telling about your three biggest strengths on this earth. And I want to go beneath the business. I want to who is Dori and what is your strength?
Really good question, and especially that you added that, like, don't think about like the business perspective as such. I think one of my biggest strengths, that I always felt the energy in the room and how people feel around me. Like I can just like read the room right away. And I think this is such an amazing skill that I just started using in the last couple of years very intentionally. But before, it was just like something that I always had. So I thought that this is just normal. Another one, I don't really know if this is necessarily like the strength in that way that we would put, but what I really like is that I go after my dreams, and I have the courage, and I just set my mind into something and just go after it. It needs to be, although super clear, but then if I have this and it's very clear, there's nothing that can stop me. Like I just go. And third one, I wanted to say, to be honest, that I think I'm a good listener, but I don't know if it's something that I learned along the way, or it was always like this. Now it's kind of like mixed up. But yeah, I would use these now.
And the last one about being a good listener, that's a strength that I think is undervalued, because people who listen, they are good people. It's something about when you're the person that is talking, and when you're talking to a person that is good at listening, it becomes a completely different situation. and you felt seen and heard in another way than it's just floating around with words. It's actually someone who is there and caring. So I love that. And today you will practice the opposite. I will sit and listen and you will talk. And I can't wait to hear the story that has made you to you, because I can see through the screen that I feel a warmth when I'm here in the studio with you, because you just, I feel that you are a great human. So please just carry us away with your story.
Oh, thank you so much. That's so nice of you to say, and really nice to hear as well that this is the energy that you got from me. Oh, so my story. Well, I'm gonna start, and I think this is what mostly made who I am right now is this decision that I'm gonna go and and go to Cuba, take myself to Cuba to be very precise. Um, so I'm from Hungary, and most of my life, like let's say in my until the late 20s, I most of the time was in Hungary, and what happened to me is I went through a breakup. Like I came out from a 5-year-old relationship, and then, I think we learn a lot of things from relationships, and I wanted to go even deeper. So I took a coaching class, like a course. And the reason for me to get certified as a coach was not that I wanted to become a coach at that point. I wanted to coach myself. So this was already almost like a starting point. And I did the course, and I started really reflecting more and more on myself. And of course, like if anyone has done any kind of course that has to do with self-development, during why you become the practitioner, you also heal so many things in you. And I was still living there, and I had a great, to be honest, I felt great. I was so alive and just having a really amazing job. I was at that time working as an event manager. My best friend, who's now my best friend, was my colleague. So every time I was so happy to go to the office because we just had the best time. But this nagging feeling was all the time there, that I really want to like just go and enjoy life even more. And I want to travel, and mostly I want to go to Cuba, to visit Cuba, because I love dancing, as I mentioned, and I just want to dance with the locals there. So it's so interesting because your life on paper looks amazing, but then there's something missing, and you're like, okay, this is great, but this is really it? Like, I know that there is a new, like an upgrade version of this. So long story short, it's been like, I don't know, 3-4 months while I still was figuring out how I'm gonna make this happen. And I decided I'm gonna go. I'm not waiting for anyone. I'm going to Cuba. I will take myself there. And what happened is that I had this plan for November, and in August I went to like a 2-day event in Budapest. It was called the Freedom Fest, and everywhere, like, people were like location independent people, and an opportunity came that I could actually already leave in September, because there's a conference that is happening on a ship, and they are going from Europe to Panama. And I was like, it's not exactly Cuba, but that's at least the other side. And when your mind is trying to convince you this is not a good idea, like, and you are planning to go in November, this is the end of September, and right now it's beginning of August, like, this is just not gonna happen. But deep down, you know that you're gonna go for it. And it literally happened like in the afternoon. And when I went home, I sent my application, and I had a list on my phone, all of the things, like, if I get accepted and if I can go, then these are the things in order that I need to take care of. And I got accepted. And And I just left. I left my apartment, I left my job, and I'm quite a safe player, I have to say. So it's not just like, okay, I just left. When I quit my job, I was really lucky because my boss at the time told me that if you ever change your mind, like your position is going to be here and waiting for you until the end of January. So that gave me this relief. And actually, a friend of mine moved into my apartment that I was renting, and I knew that they are staying a couple of months. So both of the things were like, let's say, like safe for me to go back if I change my mind. But I left, and even 2 days before leaving, I had the doubts, and you're like, the things are going in my head like, are you crazy? Like, this is the craziest thing. You are going for 2 weeks on this journey, and then you have no plan, nothing planned, no accommodation booked. You have no idea how you're going to get to Cuba. You have no idea who are these people. You're completely alone, and you're going to be on the other side of the world. And all of these thoughts were going through my head. But deep down, you know, when the excitement is stronger than the fear. So, and of course, like everything was booked, like the conference itself and my accommodation before in Spain. So I'm like, okay, I'm doing it. There's no turning back. And for me, this was the turning point. And this is what I consider that there is a before and then after in my life. And I found myself on this journey with 250 nomads, people work online entrepreneurs, and when the world just opens up, and I felt so free and so good that I knew that that's gonna be my life from now on. I need to figure this out, how I'm gonna make this work. And I eventually got to Cuba. But it's funny because we left in September and I only got to Cuba in February because I went to different places with the people that I met on this journey. We went to Colombia before I went there. I went to Mexico, did my diving license. And I think my family, I'm super grateful for them because they are not the ones who are trying to put fears or even more fears in my mind. They are the ones who are supporting and like, okay, this sounds great, but take care, you know, just take care of yourself. But I think I freaked out a few times, my family, especially when I told them like, I'm going to Colombia, and they, in their mind, that was one of the most dangerous places in the world. So eventually I got there. But the funny thing is that by the time I was like in Cuba, and it was like a dream came true and I made that dream happen, but this was not the point anymore. It's just like this whole journey, how I got there and how I'm going forward. And it's connected to what I do now, because it's so interesting how we have these fears, and this is just thoughts in our head that come usually from some limiting beliefs. And at that time, when I realized like I really want to do this lifestyle, the thing in my head was that, okay, you're not qualified, you don't have any hard skills, you will not be able to do it. And this is where I see that sometimes changing an external environment, like changing, for example, Hungary to the world, it's not just one location, and making a bold move and taking an action, it really helps just to rewrite a lot of these beliefs, these thoughts, because you have taken the action and you have proof to yourself that, okay, this was just a thought. And then the belief changes, and then you literally just go ahead with your life. And this is what happened to me. Like, it took me a little bit, a few more actions, but eventually I was living this lifestyle, and I figured it out. And what happened is, in the beginning, of course, there was like a lot of like finding my way. What am I gonna do? So I started doing working in marketing for the conference that I started my journey with. And And then it happened that like I got the opportunity to not only work as the marketing, which was not, to be honest, it's not was what I was really inspired to do. I really enjoyed the conference itself, and I came from event with the event background. So I don't even, to be honest, it's still hard to believe, but I got the position that I can organize the events for them. And like when this project was the one that made you start this and made you fall in love with this, it was for me like the best thing that could happen. Oh my God, like this is so exciting. And I was really, really happy in this and enjoying and working on this. And at the same time, I started to have this desire that I want to do something with the coaching, because the interesting thing, what happens to you when you travel a lot, and I traveled a lot alone as well, that of course, like you're a lot with your own self, you eventually meet yourself. And that's why I think solo travel is one of the best ways for everyone to just figure out what is it really that you want, what you enjoy, what are the things that are going on maybe in repeat in your head, because we all have this, and I call it the mental playlist, all of the thoughts that are going in our head on and on repeat. And I think while I was living in Hungary, even though like of course there were like ups and downs, but I was not as aware, what are these thoughts and what are the beliefs, limiting beliefs, whatever, because you're just an autopilot. You have your routine. I was doing, I was going to the office, spending time with my best friend while we were working, spending time with her after, enjoying my life. And it's just like, I was kind of like trapped in this routine. And then the traveling really get me out of this. And finally, you're like, the choices are endless. You can go anywhere. You can do almost anything, of course, like in limits, but basically, it's a totally different life. So you have to ask a lot of questions sometimes to yourself, like, okay, what do I actually want? Where do I want to go? And I started using more and more the coaching on myself, but also people from Hungary started reaching out to me, like, how do you do this? What is this lifestyle? This looks amazing. How can I do this? And also people wanting to start their own businesses. So I created a mentorship for them. And mostly I was working with women and helping them start their freelancing business. And I was doing it a little bit, the two together, like parallel, the events for the conferences, but at the same time I was having my mentorship. But then the events just like required more and more my focus, and I also realized that my attention is there because it gave me a lot of this pleasure that you are in this event. I love being there. It's like a 1 or 2 weeks event. You can be creative and put like really cool sessions, like how to connect to people, come up with different ways, listen to amazing, successful people talk, share their story, learn a lot. And I just enjoyed it. So I prioritized that. And it's so interesting because it happened to me again last year. I started to feel last year that, okay, I'm feeling the same as I felt 7 years ago, that something is missing. And again, on paper, everything is perfect, even more perfect than before, because right now I'm completely free. I can travel the world wherever I want to go. We were organizing events, like we were in Cape Town, in Mexico, in Croatia, Cyprus, like on the cruise, like I did like 6 more of these cruise ship journeys. And it was so amazing. And we went on a safari. And there were so many amazing things. And And it's really interesting how this feeling is just like sometimes like it just keeps coming up, like it's like very silent, but then it becomes a little bit more loud. And I was facing again this like, okay, I need to change something. It worked 7 years ago that I completely changed my life. I went in, had this like, did the brave thing, like be bold, and I got the reward. And that was my experience that, okay, if you are bold and do the thing that is right now scary, you're going to get the reward. And the very interesting thing for me, what happened is that this time I decided that, okay, I need to change, and I want to really focus on my own projects, and I want to go back and really start the coaching and fully focus on that. I want to create retreats. I want to create my own events. And because I learned so much about this, even more than before, and now connecting and combining everything with the personal development thing that I know, and did the job and like the work on myself and continuously doing, because first of all the traveling, but also like, you enter a relationship that challenge you, and then you learn. So combining the two, I was like, this is perfect. Like, I know everything about events, and now I know like a lot about personal development. I was I actually like this whole job, the project. It gave me a new passion for public speaking, because I was not only organizing it, but I was hosting the event. So I was standing in front of 500 people sometimes, and doing the speech, or opening ceremonies, closing ceremonies, facilitating workshops. And it just gave me like a very similar feeling that actually dancing. And it's so interesting, because when I started to have this feeling and I went like deeper into this, like, what is it that is missing? I had this, that I think that I play small here. Like, there is a big part of me that is hiding behind this identity and behind this role. I'm on stage, and people would say like, oh my God, this is one of my biggest fears. Like, as for many people, public speaking is like, oh my God, no, never. And I was there, but the thing that I realized, that I was not there as me, Dori. I was there as the person who is organizing the event, as the event host. And that's a totally different thing, because that's already puts a layer at like almost like a mask on you, that like, okay, I'm this, but if anything goes wrong, it's not really me, so you keep this safety. And this took me some time to realize. And eventually, as I said, like, I left, and 4 months, 3-4 months later, the very interesting thing for me was that the feeling was still there, and I just didn't understand. Like, this does not make any sense. If I did the bold move, I'm going after what I feel that I want to do, and I know that this is true. I know that this is like, it's coming from a part of me that is, we can call it the gut or the heart, whatever it is, but this is the true step. So why do I still feel like this? Like, why do I still feel like that something is missing and it's not working? And the very interesting thing is, like, since at that time I didn't even have the external validation and the achievement that was coming from all of the events and this project, like, all of the beliefs and these thoughts in my head just became like louder, that, okay, something is wrong with you. Like, you probably are just not good enough to do this. And it was such a crazy period of my life that I just didn't understand. I felt so like stuck and frustrated and just lost in a way that I just don't get it. And I was constantly working and just overthinking everything. And now I know what it was, but at that time you are just so stuck in this cycle and going around, and it's just like, I don't understand. Like, I'm a coach, like I can ask myself the questions, and I had to realize, like, okay, I need to ask for help, because like this is now taking over my whole life, and it's not just about like work. Now it's affecting my relationship, my life. I was not even enjoying myself. I was not going to dancing. You know, when you're like, I will do it when I figure this out. I don't know if you've been in that situation, but it was very much like this. Like, everything else is secondary. Like, I need to crack the code here. And I started to do a lot of things. I found a coach. I did somatic work. I tried access bar. I was doing breath work. Oh my God, a lot of things, like a lot of like embodiment as well. And it helped me so much, because this is the thing, that we have so many blind spots that we cannot see. And like, we need this outside of like objective view from someone, like perspective, that like, okay, like, where are these dots? What is the thing that I'm missing? I remember when I went to the first session with my coach, I arrived with a long list that, okay, so this is what I figured out so far.
Yeah.
I know why this is. I know why I do this. Like, this is probably coming from this belief. So I just can't, like, something, I'm missing something. Like, we need to find this. Like, we need to work on that. And, you know, it's kind of like, it's so funny. And I was really frustrated as well, that on myself, that like, why can't I just solve it? But then, you know, it's you. So it helped me so much to work with her and to do all of the other things. But this is why, what I realized, and that's why I do the way I work right now. It's a very holistic, because I see us and humans like so complex, and doing just coaching and like talking to you is probably not going to be, or for me, it was never enough, because you need to go inside the body. And for me, what was very interesting is that I'm so stuck in my head that I was so disconnected from myself, so disconnected. And I can tell you that I could feel that, okay, today I feel sad, I feel this or that, but it was just coming from my mind that this is how I feel, but I was actually not feeling the feeling. And it's so interesting, because I was reading about it. I heard like people numb and people suppress, and I'm like, it's not me, definitely not me. And then when I went to the somatic session, the somatic, if someone doesn't know, is basically is just like working with your body. So it's like working with the emotions trapped in your body, with the feelings. So it's like, really, it's not to your mind. And that's when I really discovered, like, wow, okay, that's something to do some work on here. And eventually, the funny thing is, what I learned from this is that sometimes, you know, like, changing the external things and making the move and the bold move is not enough, because your beliefs and the thoughts in your head, and also like these trapped emotions, are like, this cannot be solved and cured from just like an action or changing. Like, I could go from Albania to Turkey or to Mexico, whatever, like it didn't change anything on my mood, nothing. And sometimes I thought, like, okay, it's a project, and also I don't enjoy the place where we are. And so working with my coach, with other practitioners who were helping me, it really made me clear that, okay, like, there are some beliefs and some core things that I need to still work through, because it's a lifelong journey, as I see it, this whole self-development and this inner work. And there was also a new part of me that actually, there was a belief that I probably had for a very, very long time, but it it was not never resolved because I was not really aware of it. And I think this is one of the biggest learnings and the journey, how I went through that. And then now I arrived to this stage that yeah, I don't know, I described it to you, and you mentioned before we started recording that, like, this feeling of peace. And I really feel it now. It's such a great, yeah, it's just a very, very nice place to be at. That, okay, I tried so many different things, but the big transformation for me was always for the inner journey. And I think this is something that that we sign up for, like, not necessarily because we are living the way I live, but if someone, like, wants to go after a dream, and you just feel like that, I don't know why, it's just not, it's just not happening, or you're on your own way. And I was in my own way in the last, and during this period after leaving this project. And I felt, I just felt that I'm sabotaging myself, and I just didn't understand why. Like, if this is what meant to be, and this is who I need to become, like, why is it this hard? And it's just really, I think it was another part of my life when right now it's almost like there is, again, like, a before and after. And it's so interesting because I thought that that's going to be, for me, the big moment 7 years ago when I left Hungary and left everything and became a nomad. And now it feels like that now there is another journey. And it's just very interesting. They say that we change in 7 years, and for me it's really like it was 7. So that's another interesting way. So that's, I think, most of. Oh, and one thing that I wanted to add, this is what I forgot. Like, it's so interesting how my journey started with the dancing. And a big realization for me when I was going through this very irritating and period when I felt really stuck and really, like, overthinking and in my head, is that I was not dancing. And it was so interesting to see, like, I was not even allowing myself to go and enjoy, because no, I will go when I don't have time for this now. And when I started working with all the people who were helping me, I went to a kizomba class. And kizomba is, if someone doesn't know, is a dance from Angola. And it's not as, let's say, I don't know what's the right word, like, to describe salsa, but it's more like about the moves, and it looks good. If you look at someone who's dancing salsa, like, it looks like, okay, it's so powerful, and like they're doing all this, the turns and everything. And kizomba is like, before I was looking at a kizomba crowd, and I'm like, I don't really get it. Like, there's hardly anything that they do there. And I learned now that kizomba is really about connection. And when you dance, like, you will feel that. And if it's, I was going through this, that I was so disconnected to myself. And that's when I went actually to the kizomba class. And it helped me so much to find my way back to myself and really to my body. And it's so interesting how dancing, and I'm actually just putting it together now, that, like, how dancing was like a key moment there in my, let's say, in my first big change. And it was a very key thing here again in my journey to find the way really back to myself and really to the true self. So
wow, I'm through your whole story, I've had goosebumps. It's something about you, I think, that makes me like, wow, I'm really sitting here and just absorbing everything you say, because I can recognize myself in your story. And I've not been on the same journey, not at all. But I love the way that you the first time you kind of manifested your dream, and you just go out there and you didn't have a plan, and it worked out. It just became more than you ever dreamt of. And then you have kind of understand that tool that I can manifest and I can get what I want, and I just want to live my life. And then you get to another point where you actually starting to get a kind of a in another podcast I said gray sky over you as a layer. You know what to do and you try, but you start to get in your own head, and it's just thoughts about thoughts and thoughts about thoughts, and the feelings, it's not a place for the feelings to appear. And when we get too hung up in our head, we're not getting anywhere. So I just love the story that you are describing, and I'm recognizing a lot of that from my own journey. And I love also that you understand for yourself that, yeah, I have the tools, but right now I just need somebody else to help me, because I can't see clear for myself. So how has all this affected you? Because I can just visualize how many ups and downs you have felt on this, and I really want to hear the feelings when you were traveling for the first time. What was going on inside your body?
Oh, I think it was, I don't know, the word that just came to me is like this liberation. Like you were just like this ultimate freedom and happiness and feeling so alive than never before. It's just like when you feel like it, and it's not that, oh my God, I came from like a whatever background that I had all the money to just like go and explore. Like, no, not at all. Not at all. I was working a lot and saved up, and I was just like, I need to figure something out here because this is not going to last too long. And even with this, I feel like I can do whatever I want. And that feeling, it's the best. Like I still have so many like flashbacks to these first few months, because I think for me that was the most impactful in the whole beginning part. Like yeah, it's just, you cannot believe that this is your life right now, and you just want, you feel that, oh my God, I'm living in a bubble and I just don't want this bubble to just like disappear. And you're just like every day waking up like with like, I can't believe that this is my life. I've been in this, I'm living my dream.
Wow. And what about how long was the downgoing spiral where you started to get stuck? How long time period was that?
You mean the second change?
Yeah.
A couple months.
Yeah.
Because a couple months. Because first I came up with like this. I think the best way to compare it to is like when you have a relationship and you finally decide that like I still love you, but like I think our journeys are not going to the same direction, so I would rather make this hard decision and leave. And I think this is what I felt there. I still loved that project and I loved during that time as well, but I was just like, something is calling me, I need to go. And first you feel that the proudness, that you're proud of yourself, that although like, this is my security, my safety, and I love it, but I still choose me, which is, I think, the best. It's a very, I don't even know what to, because good is not describing it. It's just an amazing feeling that like, and I was really proud of myself that I chose myself and I chose my this unknown possible reality that could be. So it's very like relieved and happy, and at the same time you're going through almost like a grieving period. But then it really started going down, and that was the hard part, when it's just like, oh my god, now I need to figure this out really. And I thought that I have, all of the goals and all of the plans, but something is kicking in, and then your mind just gets so loud. My mind was so loud, and trying to find, as my coach always says, like this situations that like, oh, you see, I said so. Like, it's kind of like you have one of my biggest limiting beliefs that I think is very common for most people is like, I'm not good enough. And it can show up in different ways. And no matter how much proof you have from the past, like if you currently, like for me, I didn't have like external validation, like external like success in that sense. So this became really loud, and I was constantly unconsciously looking for situations when I can prove this belief to be true. Like, you see, again, you're not good enough. It's just not going to work. And then you can really go down in that spiral.
And what was it that made you realize that this was a limiting belief, and how did you work through it? Are you having that as a limiting belief today, or is it totally gone?
For me, this is a very, let's say, deep limiting belief. Like, I think we all have like at least like one that is not just a thought. And this is what I mentioned, like the difference. Like, I do see, and this is from my practice and from my work, I know that we have like our mind that is creating the limiting beliefs, but actually many times is an emotion that is trapped and that is linked to the limiting belief. So that's in your body. And for me, this is something that is also in my body, because I have, basically, when it's in your body, that also means that there was a situation in your life. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be like a big trauma or whatever, but something happened where you couldn't express an emotion fully. And the emotion, if you don't express an emotion, it gets stuck, and then it's stored somewhere in your body. And what your brain does is basically, you, in the childhood especially, like your brain is just like stops for a second and analyzes everything, what happened right before this pain occurred. And then that becomes like a trigger, and that just stores everything, like the thought, the feeling, somewhere in your subconscious, in your body. So for me, that's why it's very important. And this is why the way I work as well is not just with your mind. So many of these things are in your subconscious and also in your body. So somatic work for me, it's like very powerful. And but also, like, you need to have someone to talk through the things in your mind. Your mind needs the logic there. So it's I don't think that it's like as present as it was, but this is something with the limiting beliefs, is like it's so easy to fall back to that. So I think it's like an ongoing and all the time, like it's gonna be a tiny bit there. It's not present, let's say, that much, and I'm working through my way. But like with all of this inner work is a constant. There is like always a new layer, and always a new layer.
Yeah. And are you having some kind of pattern or something that you recognize that, oh, now it's coming again to stop me from doing something, and then you now know that, okay, then I will do this to overcome the limiting belief?
Yes, yes, definitely. So I'm a very emotional person, so like I have like very highs and sometimes very lows as well. So, but right now when it comes, like, I still get carried away a tiny bit with, but it's way shorter. So like sometimes in the past it could be like days, like weeks, that I was still like stuck in that, and now it's gone like in an hour or two. So it's just, I just need to come back, like, okay, I need to go for a walk, I need to meditate, I need to like ask myself the questions like, what is it like, what am I, basically the best question that anyone can ask, and this is what I use as well, like, okay, why, what am I afraid of right now? Because it's always like when we get triggered, like there is a fear underneath that. So if you can figure out what are you actually afraid of right now, that's one of the ways. And the other thing with the thoughts that I do is, and this is so silly but so powerful, I created almost like a personality and a name. I give her a name to the inner critic that I have in my mind. So when I have like thoughts that, I don't know, you're going to do this or whatever, then I catch myself and I say, okay, my inner critic was this judge in me is Karen. And then you need to disassociate yourself from it. So like there's a distance. So then Karen thinks I can do it. And then you give yourself back the power that you have a choice. Like, do I believe her or do I do it anyway? And you go ahead and make the choice.
Oh, that's a great one. And it's a very specific one. So it's very easy to adapt if you want to try that kind of help for yourself, because I think we all have someone on our shoulders who are trying to not let us reach our full potential, and to keep a distance. It can be great. And it's so many lessons throughout your journey. But if you want to summarize, I say in one sentence, but you can use 2 or 3 or 4. What is your most important lessons from your journey?
I think the most important lesson, what I learned, is that the change is coming from the inner world. Like it's you always need to change the inside if you want to have a lasting change. And you can change the external environment as much as you want, but that doesn't mean necessarily that things will really changing in you. So it's always the transformation is coming from inside.
And if a person sits now and think that, oh, I need to do this, what is the first action step you would recommend them taking?
Becoming aware. Awareness is always the first step, and this is key. So become aware, for example, of the as I mentioned before, the mental playlist in your head. Like you have, for example, you can think of a goal that you really you say that you want to reach, and sometimes, we have this and we are talking about it for years and years, and our family and friends, they are just like, okay, you're talking about it for many years now, so clearly it's not that important for you. So just think about a goal that you think that you want to achieve, or you have been talking about, and if you're really honest with yourself, it would make you really exciting. The ones that is exciting but scary at the same time. And then just pay attention. What is the thought that comes up right after you thought about it, like reaching your first exciting, and then boom, the thoughts comes that like, why can't you do that? What is it? So just write these down, like what are these thoughts, and like try to pay attention for like, let's say a week or so. Like what is this? Like what am I actually thinking of during the day? Because 80% of our thoughts are the same every single day. And that's why if someone is living on autopilot, that I used to live in Hungary, and you're just not even aware, you have not 1 minute to stop to just like ask yourself this question, like, what the heck am I thinking of actually? Like, what is the story that keeps playing on repeat in my head? And just pay attention to those, because that will help you get to the bottom of like the limiting belief as well that you hold about yourself. I would start with this, and also the inner critic, and really like making space between the inner critic loud voice and yourself, because that's just a thought and it's not you.
Thank you for the great advice. And I think many people can learn from this and take this onto their own lives, and start by practicing the small things. It starts with the small, and then you handle that, and then you go further. So even us as coaches are, we're working with ourselves also. So it's a great. So thank you so much for sharing your story and lessons. And how do you feel by, when you now have shared with the world your story? What do you feel right now?
It's it's a very it's a very nice feeling to share the stories. Also, at the same time, I feel like it's a very vulnerable part of me, and like it's a story that is, it's so true in many levels. And I just feel like that I know that if I would be there, where I was, like I was listening to a lot of podcasts, and these things helped me so much to just like, first of all, not feel alone, that I'm not the only one having these thoughts. So I really hope that, by me sharing it, it will impact some lives. And thanks so much for giving the space and allowing me and the other guests to really share our stories.
Thank you. And thank you for saying that. It's amazing. And I would love to hear, if people want to connect with you, where can they reach you? And can you tell us a little about what you are offering as a service?
Yeah, so the best way would be either social media or my website. I guess we will put the links in the show notes, but it's my name. It's Dori, DoriJuhaz.com. That's my website, and my Instagram is the same name, but an underscore official. So Dori Juhasz underscore official. That's the Instagram. So these are probably the best ways to reach me. And feel free to reach me. I love to hear other people's stories, and also like I'm always looking for things like what people want to hear about and learn about, like when it comes to self-sabotage and really being in our own way. And this is what I do, and what I offer to help and really empower people to go inwards and really do the work, and step out from this cycle and really break free from self-sabotage, so you can really create the lasting change, the inner, really like the inner transformation, so you can go after your dreams and whatever that you would like to achieve. Because it's a journey, and I think all of us need this objective perspective that a coach and these practitioners can offer. So this is what I do, and I do it, as I mentioned, a very holistic way. So it's coaching, it's mindfulness, it's somatic work, embodiment, so everything combined together.
It's wonderful. And I think that if the listeners are feeling the energy and feeling connected to you, I think that is a really important part of choosing a coach. So if it's somebody who sits there and really maybe resonates with the story or the energy, or just feeling that, this could be the right coach, I hope they will reach out to you and take a talk, because it's so important to have others to talk to. We're strong alone, but we're stronger together. And that is also when we are building up the strength and personal development. It's much easier to do it with somebody with your side.
Yes,
Yeah.
totally
So
agree.
I just want to finishing off with saying thank you so much for sharing your story, being vulnerable. And I'm so grateful that I've got to hear your story, and that the listeners got to hear your story. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It was really a pleasure, and yeah, it's a nice new experience to just like share and talk about my story. Thank
Yeah,
you.
and your story is so important out there in the world. So it was nice to be the one facilitating for it because I want everybody to hear it. So thank you very much.